History of America, Episode 1. Before America existed. Before the idea of a nation called the United States, there was silence. No cities, no skyscrapers, no flags, no presidents, just a vast, untamed land, stretching endlessly, from frozen northern tundras to burning southern deserts, a land untouched by what we now call civilization. But here is the question history rarely asks. Who lived here before America existed? And more importantly, what was lost when America began? Because the story of America did not start with independence. It started with migration, survival, conquest, and disappearance. This is not the history you learned in school. This is the story of a land before it had a name.
This is History of America.
Long before humans walked this land, North America was a world shaped by chaos. Millions of years ago, massive glaciers carved valleys, mountains rose violently from the earth, and entire ecosystems were born and destroyed. Gigantic creatures roamed here: mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths. This was not a peaceful land, it was a place of survival, where only the strongest endured. And then, something changed. Around 20,000 years ago, the Earth entered a deep freeze, what we now call the Ice Age. And with it came a bridge. Between what is now Siberia and Alaska, a strip of land emerged from the frozen ocean, a place we now call the Bering Land Bridge. Across this narrow, icy path, the first humans began their journey. Not explorers, not conquerors, survivors. They followed animals, searching for food, moving slowly, over generations. They had no idea they were entering an entirely new world. Over thousands of years, they spread across the continent, from the icy north to the forests, to the plains, to the deserts. They became the first Americans. But they were not one people. They became hundreds of nations, each with their own language, their own beliefs, their own way of life. When people think of ancient civilizations, they think of Egypt, Rome, Greece, but almost no one talks about what existed here. In North America, great societies rose, not primitive, not simple, but complex, organized, and powerful. The Mississippian civilization. In what is now the central United States, a city rose called Cahokia. At its peak, around 1100 AD, it was larger than London, with massive earth pyramids, organized streets, and a population of tens of thousands. This was not a village. This was a city, the ancestral Puebloans. In the deserts of the Southwest, people carved homes into cliffs, entire communities built into rock walls, perfectly adapted to harsh environments. They understood architecture, astronomy, and survival in ways modern people still study today. The Iroquois Confederacy. In the Northeast, nations came together to form one of the most sophisticated political systems in history, a union built on agreement. Some historians believe this system later influenced the structure of American democracy itself. But here's what makes this story unsettling. These civilizations existed long before Europe even knew this land was here. For thousands of years, the people of this land lived completely separate from the rest of the world. No contact with Europe, no contact with Asia beyond ancient migration. It was a world of its own. Cultures evolved differently. Beliefs were deeply connected to nature. The land was not owned. It was respected. There were no borders, no countries, just territories, shared by tribes, defined by survival. And then, across the ocean, everything was about to change. Long before Columbus, there were whispers that others had arrived. Around the year 1000 AD, Norse explorers, led by Leif Erikson, reached the shores of North America. They called it Vinland. But their presence was brief. They did not stay, and history almost forgot them. But in 1492, a man sailed west, believing he could reach Asia. Instead, he found something else. Or rather, he stumbled upon a land that was never his to find. When Christopher Columbus arrived, he did not discover an empty land. He found people, millions of them, living, thriving, building, surviving. But what followed was not exploration. It was the beginning of erasure. Diseases spread faster than any army. Smallpox, influenza, entire populations wiped out before they even understood what was happening. And then came conquest. Land was taken, cultures were destroyed, histories were rewritten, and slowly, the world that existed before America began to disappear. By the time the idea of America began to form, the land had already changed forever. The people who once called it home were no longer the majority. Their stories were pushed aside, their voices silenced, and a new narrative began. So one that started not with what was here before, but with what came after. But if we truly want to understand America, we must start here. Not with independence, not with presidents, not with wars, but with the land, the people, and the world that existed before it had a name. In the next episode, we will explore how Europe's hunger for power turned this land into a battleground, and how the foundations of modern America were built on conflict.
Because America was not just created, it was fought into existence. Subscribe to this channel. Bye.